Welcome to Beyond the News. I'm your host AYESHA Khan, and in tonight's edition of the program, we will be discussing Interior Ministry to unveil a new version of National Action Plan. Prime Minister Imran Khan performed the groundbreaking ceremony. Yasir Shah takes 14 wickets innings win for Pakistan. Investigators say Lion Air's crashed plane was not airworthy. 3 U.S. service members killed in Afghanistan. But first, our top story tonight. Prime Minister Imran Khan performed the groundbreaking ceremony of the Kartarpur corridor that connects India's Gurdaspur district to Gurdwara Darbar Sahib. While addressing the ceremony, the Premier thanked the Indian delegates for attending the ceremony and promised to keep improving the corridor facility for the visitors. Prime Minister reiterated his support for the peace dialogue and said that Pakistan wants to move forward its relations with India. He supported Navjot Sidhu for coming to Pakistan despite criticism, saying that all he ever did was talk about peace between 2 nuclear-armed countries. He also said that it would be foolish to think that there can ever be a war between 2 nuclear-powered countries because there is nothing to win for anyone involved. At the ceremony, Indian Minister for Food Harsimrat Kaur Badal gave an address in which she said that distances are being erased today with the opening of the corridor. Badal said that if Berlin Wall can fall, then the wall of hate between India and Pakistan can also be taken down. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi quoted Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah's words and said that everyone is free to go to their place of worship and no one shall be discriminated against in the eyes of the state. The event was also attended by Chief of the Army Staff General Qamar Javed Bajwa, government officials, Indian ministers and foreign diplomats. Earlier in the day, the Indian delegation, which comprises of Minister for Food Harsimrat Kaur Badal and Minister for Housing Hardeep Puri, were received by officials of the Pakistan Rangers Punjab Division. The Kartarpur corridor would facilitate visa-free travel of Indian Sikh pilgrims to the Gurdwara Darbar Sahib, which has historical significance for Sikhs as Guru Nanak Dev spent 18 years there. Just last week, the Union Cabinet of India took the decision to build the corridor and gave a go-ahead to the Pakistani authorities. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi conveyed the decision to relevant authorities to open the corridor to New Delhi. Well, the corridor was first proposed by Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee when he took a bus ride to Lahore back in 1999. Declining the invite to come to the groundbreaking ceremony, Indian Minister for External Affairs Sushma Swaraj said that the Kartarpur corridor initiative was not connected with the dialogue process with Pakistan. She reiterated that despite the positive response of Pakistan, the bilateral talks will not start between the 2 countries, as she alleges that terror and talks cannot go together. On the other hand, Foreign Office spokesperson Dr. Mohammad Faisal said that this monumental event will open many opportunities for both the countries, as it is a great step towards inclusion of minorities. Indian politician and former cricketer Navjot Sidhu, who has come to Pakistan as a guest, has said that the corridor will erase enmity between the 2 nations and create infinite possibilities between them. To further discuss this historic occasion, we now join former MPA from Punjab, Ramesh Singh Arora. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Arora.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for taking me on board.
So firstly, how significant is the opening of Kartarpur corridor for the Sikh community, both in Pakistan and India?
Look, the Sikh community residing either in Pakistan or residing in India or residing in other parts of the world or Sikh diaspora, everyone was looking forward, and I believe this is a historic moment. Look at the Prime Minister's speech. He was talking about that this is a historic moment because all over the world, the Sikh community was demanding this corridor to visit Pakistan, particularly the Sikh shrines over here. So I am indebted, and I really extend my gratitude to the Army Chief, General Qamar Bajwa, who met with Mr. Sidhu at the swearing-in ceremony of Mr. Imran Khan, the present Prime Minister of Pakistan, and he sent a message of peace, love, and brotherhood between the 2 countries. So today the reality came. Today, this is the reality that Pakistan is going to construct this corridor, and I believe this is a great opportunity for the Sikh community residing in India.
Well, Mr. Arora, as someone like yourself who's closely associated with Pakistan Sikh Gurdwara Committee as well as the Pakistan Sikh Council, what provocative or proactive role will your organizations be playing in the facilitating the Indian Sikh community en route to Kartarpur?
Look, Pakistan Sikh Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee is looking after the Sikh shrines in Pakistan, and we look forward all the Sikh Sangat, all the Sikh Yatris who come to Pakistan to pay homage to the Sikh shrines here in Pakistan. So either it's from India or this is from Sikh diaspora. So our job is, and I consider this our responsibility, that whoever is coming to Sikh shrines, we will welcome them and we will take care of them. So either it's thousands, it's 100, or it's 100 and 1,000. So we would be here to look after them.
Well, I must ask, how does the overseas Sikh community living in UK, US and Canada feel about this decision?
Look, every Sikh is very much happy, and because if Sikh is coming to India and he's residing over there, so his basic roots is from India, so certainly they would be allowed to come to Pakistan through this Kartarpur corridor. So everyone is excited because this was their dream, and the dream came into reality today.
Well, Mr. Arora, despite being labelled as a positive step, Sushma Swaraj says that this does not mean that bilateral talks will start. What do you make of her statement?
Look, this is the habit of India. All the time, if we show we talk to the India particularly on peace, and we talk to India particularly on have a good relationship. So India always denies that. India has always rejected that offer. And look at what happened at the time of Benazir Bhutto. We offered that we are going to open this Kartarpur corridor, and the offers were rejected. At the time of Mian Nawaz Sharif, that was given to them that we want to open this Kartarpur corridor, that was rejected. And today again, look, we invited Sushma Swaraj to come to Pakistan at the groundbreaking ceremony of this Kartarpur corridor. But sad to know that Sushma Swaraj denied to come, and I just heard a news that they are not going to have any discussion with dialogue with Pakistan. So this is their habit, and they should look into it. How if they want peace, if they want real peace in this area, then there should be a dialogue between India and Pakistan, and the solution of Kashmir is much more needed. So today, Prime Minister in his speech, he said that Pakistan and India can sit together, but we also need to resolve the issue of Kashmir. So India should need to look into that, because if we are going to open this Kartarpur corridor, we are going to facilitate Indian community, not the Pakistani community, because Indians would come to Pakistan and they would be paying their homage to Gurdwaras here in Pakistan. So Pakistan is very concerned. Pakistan has a commitment with this Sikh community that we want to open it, but India need to look into that as well.
Well, I want to build on what you said. So how do you see the prospects of Pakistan-India relations in light of this historic moment? Will this goodwill measure be appreciated on the Indian side?
Look, I consider this corridor as a corridor of peace, corridor of love, corridor of brotherhood. So I consider once this Harsimrat Kaur Badal, who is the Central Minister from India, Mr. Navjot Singh Sidhu, who is the cabinet minister from Punjab, India. Once they go back, once they sit with their high ups in India, so there would be discussion going on, and I consider that they would give a serious attention towards the peace dialogues between Pakistan and India, and I'm pretty confident that Sikh community can play a vital role to bring these two countries together.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Arora. And once again, that was former MPA from Punjab, Ramesh Singh Arora. And now let's move on to a quick break. We'll be back with more news. Welcome back. The Ministry of Interior plans to unveil a new version of the National Action Plan, dubbed as the National Action Plan 2. while also setting sights at restructuring the National Counter-Terrorism Authority, better known as NACTA. The decision to reform both NAP and NACTA has been taken into order to effectively tackle internal threats to security. The new version of NAP will address the shortcomings of the previous one, which was first unveiled in the aftermath of the Peshawar Army Public School attack. The 20-point agenda was just the beginning of a good start to eliminate terrorism from the homeland. But many concerns have been raised from time and again about the process of its implementation. The previous government repeatedly failed to actively implement NAP at important junctures, which could have strengthened the counter-terrorism efforts and bodies while dismantling radical and hateful ideologies. There are now hopes associated with the new version of NAP to overcome these shortcomings, and the Ministry of State for Interior, Shahryar Afridi, is quite hopeful that it will. With the new version, the Interior Ministry also plans to create a cybersecurity organization to effectively counter the growing threat of cyber crimes. Similarly, strong action will be taken against illegal money transfers with the implementation of the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2010. Some sources also say that under the 100 Days Agenda report, the Interior Ministry emerged as the most efficient one, leaving aside other ministries due to the launch of 44 new initiatives like public-friendly offices, de-weaponizing drive, police reforms, and Safe City project. And to further discuss the renewed hopes associated with the new version of NAP, we now join Lieutenant Commander retired Ehsan Ghani, who was the former national coordinator of NACDA. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ghani.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Do you think that there were some shortcomings in the previous version of NAP? What were these shortcomings in your opinion?
If you would allow, I'll just very briefly for your viewers go over the formulation process of NAP. As you said, after the ABS attack, there was a need to eliminate terrorism, extremism, violent extremism from the society. So a parliamentary committee was formed which deliberated upon the issues to come up with an action plan. They further tasked an expert group which came up with the 20 points national action plan. It was presented to the parliamentary committee, which presented it to the all parties conference, and it was approved. There were 17 subcommittees. The first one was headed by the Prime Minister, 12 were headed by the Interior Minister, and 4 were headed by other ministers. Now, the problem is that these committees had just one meeting in the first week of the formation of the National Action Plan. After that, not a single meeting took place. The review and monitoring mechanism was first handed over to the National Police Bureau, then the National Counterterrorism Authority, then Ministry of Interior, the National Security Advisor, and back to the Ministry of Interior. Now, from here you can see that the ownership of NAP kept on oscillating between different entities, groups, individuals. Yes, there were problems, but there were opportunities. The opportunities were because a consensus document, political, military leadership agreed on it, the nation was behind it. And if you have a look at the implementation during the last almost 4 years now, the anti-terrorism steps were satisfactory. The CT and CVE processes were very slow. If you look at the graphs, if you can get hold of the graphs of the actions taken, the year 2015 was very good. So much action was done by the police, by other law enforcement agencies. 16, hardly any. 17 was again good because Operation Radul Fasad. 18, hardly any action has been taken. So these were the opportunities which we missed some of them. There are challenges, and you rightly said in the beginning that there's a problem with implementation. The problem of Pakistan and the dilemma is that there are huge gaps between paper and ground. We can come up with excellent policies, NAP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, NISP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the problem would remain implementation. Now, the new NAP, I totally agree, is required. Why? New threats have emerged, and action on some of the NAP points has already been completed. And there are traditional threats, which we all know, and there are some non-traditional threats which NAP should address. We have problems with our education system, both contemporary and religious education. That should be addressed. But what I would advise, if I may use the word, that we should not be hasty about it. We should consult everyone, all stakeholders, academia, experts, media, those who are to implement the NAP and come up with a new NAP. If you allow me, I would just say one more thing, then I'm open to other questions, which is that the previous NAP, whereas it had the subcommittees, the 17 subcommittees, none of these subcommittees worked. So we should have an implementation mechanism within the NAP. And I strongly feel that the Prime Minister's office should take ownership, as there are different agencies, entities, departments, provinces involved. There should be one focal agency who should be monitoring the implementation. And there should be regular periodic meetings of NAP. The last one, there should be an accountability mechanism embedded in the plan. What I mean by accountability mechanism, that the provinces, the entities, the departments, the federal agencies should be asked why this has not been done. Nobody asked about NAP except some think tanks, except the parliament and the media. They kept questioning me while I was having NACTA about NAP, but there was hardly any questions asked from the government side.
Well, Mr. Ghani, then do you think there is a need to revamp the structure of NACTA? How can the authorities assure a more developed counterterrorism body? Could you delve into the specifics of it?
Yes. Now, if we have a look at the NACTA formulation process or evolution process, it was initially established in 2008 through an executive order and was placed under the Ministry of Interior. Now, for 5 years, 2008 to 13, there was a turf war going on, whether it should be under the Ministry of Interior or the Prime Minister's office. In March 2013, when the PPP government was on its way out, they came up with the act, the NACTA Act, in March 2013 and passed it, and placed NACTA under the Prime Minister's office. When the new government came in, through a notification, they undermined that act and placed NACTA administratively under Ministry of Interior and for professional and operational purposes under Prime Minister's office. Now, this was neither here nor there. And the Islamabad High Court then ruled that that notification is against the law and unconstitutional and was set aside. But again, what the seven functions of NACTA as assigned in the Act, if you have a look at it, they're so comprehensive and they're so specific that you really don't have much to do to change those things. All you have to do is to focus on NACTA. The Prime Minister's office should take the ownership as enshrined in the NACTA Act. They should do what the NACTA Act says. There's not much to do about that. And then, if you honestly look at the polarization in the Parliament, making amendments to the Act will be a huge task. And till such time there are changes made, NACTA would remain in a limbo. They will hardly have anything to work. The best thing that could have happened to NACTA during this present regime was when it held its first Board of Governors meeting. I kept trying for 3 years before me. The other national coordinators kept trying for 5 years, hold a BOG meeting. It wasn't. And this government, the moment it took power, held the first BOG meeting. Excellent thing. However, a committee was formed with the task of recommending certain changes to the Act, and as you asked the question, that committee was to present its recommendations to the Prime Minister in 2 weeks. Over 8 weeks have passed, that committee has not met. So it shows the focus and the ownership of the counterterrorism and counter-violent extremism efforts. Previously, all these efforts were honestly outsourced to other organizations, and the civilian political government never took hold or ownership of the CTCVE initiatives. I hope that the present one do something about it.
Well, do you think there is a communication gap between all the bodies that are working to secure the homeland?
There is a communication gap, there is intelligence sharing gap, which NACTA was supposed to address and which is just about right. The Joint Intelligence Directorate is right for starting its work, which will eliminate the intelligence sharing hurdles that we think we had. There is not really much issue of communication gap. It is the ownership problem. The Prime Minister's office must take ownership of these efforts.
Well, so let's switch topics slightly for a second. Cybersecurity will be a big part of the upcoming version of NAP. Do you think that Pakistan has much to fear from cyber attacks when it comes to dealing with internal threats?
If we just broaden the cyber security to the whole media and the internet thing, or as we call it professionally, terrorist use of internet, TUI. Denying TUI is one of the focal issue these days. It is not just cyber attacks or cyber threats. It is also the social media or the internet use to generate funds for recruitment purposes, propaganda. So NACTA has done quite a bit in this in the last 3 years. They have worked on using internet for curbing the hate speech. FIA has done quite a lot in this. So I think there has been work. PTA has done some work, and MYT has done some work. So all these have to be brought together. If today we feel that we're not really under such huge cyber terrorism threat, but threat is present, it is going to be a major issue, and the advanced countries are working on this for years and are funding billions into these initiatives. If we don't start work now, we will be too late, because in this regime, in the internet regime, the terrorists are way ahead of our agencies.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ghani. And once again, that was Lieutenant Commander retired Ehsan Ghani, who was the former National Coordinator of NACTA. And now let's move on to a quick break. We'll be back with more news. Thank you for staying with us. New Zealand was handed an innings defeat by Pakistan as leg spinner Yasir Shah claimed the second best match figures by a Pakistani bowler. Yasir Shah ended with 14 wickets, giving away 184 runs, only to come behind the great all-rounder and the current premier Imran Khan, who had taken 14 wickets at the cost of 116 runs back in 1982 against Sri Lanka in Lahore. Yasir Shah's previous best match figures were 10 wickets for 141 runs in an empathetic victory over England at prestigious Lord's in 2016. After achieving the record figures, Yasir Shah said that he couldn't have bowled any better, and that wicket was helping with the bounce and break. Despite giving a tough time to bowlers in the follow-on, New Zealand batsmen were ultimately dismissed for 312 runs on the fourth day of Dubai Test match. Now, the series has been levelled with one more final match to be played. Captain Sarfaraz Ahmed said that this has been a great comeback for the team, and a lot of credit needs to be given to batsmen as well. New Zealand captain Kane Williamson said that Yasir Shah bowled in very demanding areas and he took full advantage of the pitch. He is an exceptional bowler and a great challenge to face. Pakistan will hope for Yasir Shah to repeat the heroics once again, but batsmen should not be too complacent either. The third test starts on Monday in Abu Dhabi, wherein New Zealand won a thrilling first test by 4 runs. The good news for Pakistan is that aside from retaining the playing 11, fast bowler Hassan Ali is delivering very well. His contributions in this match cannot be overlooked as he started hitting the right spots and getting the ball to reverse as well. further discuss Pakistan's performance, we now join Mirza Iqbal Beg, senior sports journalist. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Beg.
Pleasure for me, Ayesha.
So how do you rate Yasir Shah's performance? Is he set to become one of the greatest Pakistani bowlers, or has that feat already been achieved by him?
Ayesha, Yasir Shah belongs to Swabi and a remote area of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. But when he came into international cricket, nobody had thought that he is going to achieve so much for Pakistan, because you know that Danish Canada has got most wickets for Pakistan, more than 260 wickets, Abdul Qadir 236 and Mushtaq Ahmed. So he is the fourth Pakistani leg spinner and he has surpassed Mushtaq Ahmed. And he just needs 5 more wickets to complete the double century of test wickets. And he has just played 32 test matches. So if he gets those 5 wickets in the last test, which is going to be played from 3rd of December at Abu Dhabi, then he'll create a new world record, the least number of test matches by a bowler to leg spinner to complete 200 wickets. So he's going very well. And the way he bowled, I was here in Dubai, the way he bowled, the spell in which he took 8 wickets, excellent spell. And one can say that he mesmerized the Kiwi batsmen and they were unable to cope with his leg spin googly bowling. So Yasir Shah, and there is another thing with him that I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, his mother passed away. And then Yasir Shah actually was not in a good frame of mind, but despite that, he performed brilliantly for Pakistan. Hats off to him. Because of him, Pakistan won the test match. Otherwise, New Zealand, after winning the Abu Dhabi test by a mere margin of 4 runs, New Zealand were on top. But Yasir Shah did excellently, and I hope so that in future he's going to bring laurels for Pakistan.
Well, Mr. Beg, what about the centuries of Babar Azam and Haris Sohail? Have they proved that they are capable of delivering in the longer format of the game?
Regarding Haris Sohail, Ayesha, people think that he plays for himself. He played a little bit of selfish innings for himself. But the way he's trying to establish himself in the middle order of Pakistan team, people say that it was the need of the time. But Babar Azam, it's a big achievement for him because he had already scored 8 centuries in one-day international cricket. So it was an achievement for him that he scored a century, first century in test matches. Before that, he was out 99 versus Australia at Abu Dhabi. So Babar Azam is going to become a future prospect. People were saying that he is not a test material. He's not a test batsman. He just plays like one day and T20 matches batsman. But he performed well and hope so. The real test, Ayesha, I think will come on the tour of South Africa when Pakistani batsmen will be facing the fast battery of South Africa and they'll be playing on the fast pitches, green top pitches. So it will be a real test of Babar Azam, but definitely these 2 youngsters have performed well for Pakistan and they can be future prospects for Pakistan also.
Well, Hassan Ali is getting his magical reverse swing back as well. But on the other hand, Mohammad Abbas remained wicketless. How do you judge their performances?
Ayesha, this is called cricket. Mohammad Abbas was on top when he took wickets in Dubai and everywhere. But for the last 3 test matches, he hasn't been able to get wickets. So Abbas is a good bowler, but I think that because of you mentioned that because of the reverse swing, Hassan Ali was able to get the wickets. But I still think that instead of, although they have played Hassan Ali, but in my opinion, they should have given chance to Shaheen Afridi, who is in tremendous form. But still, Hassan Ali proved his mettle. He got the wickets at the crucial time. So let's see, when the ball doesn't reverse swing, let's see what he does in the other conditions. But he performed well, and I have sympathy with Mohammad Abbas because he's a brilliant bowler, so he can do well for Pakistan in the coming future series.
Well, Mr. Beg, how are you looking towards the 3rd and final test match in Abu Dhabi? Will there be any changes in the playing 11?
People say that don't change the winning combination. So it looks like that Pakistan is going to play the same 11 in Abu Dhabi, but remember, this is the place where Pakistan lost the test match by 4 runs. They couldn't even chase 176 runs target. So now Kiwi team will be under pressure because of Yasir Shah heroic. He took 14 wickets in Dubai test. So Kiwi will be under a lot of pressure and they will be planning. Today I met with Kane Williamson, who's the Kiwi captain. He accepted that Yasir Shah mesmerized. He said the spell which Yasir Shah bowled was superb one. Nobody was able to actually read his googlies and his flipper, top spinner, leg spinner. So Yasir Shah will play a very vital role in Abu Dhabi Test, and New Zealand will be a little bit psychologically under pressure, because after losing the second test, the way by an innings and 16 runs, they'll be under pressure, and their batsmen will be thinking how to cope with Yasir Shah's bowling. So I think it will be an interesting, but in my opinion, I think the toss will play a very vital role. If any team wins toss, then they will decide to bat first, because the fourth innings will be quite difficult at Abu Dhabi. Let's see. The morale of Pakistan cricket team is quite high. Today, after winning the Dubai Test, they left here for Abu Dhabi. So it looks like that Pakistan is going to do well in the last Test match, which is going to start on the Monday.
Well, lastly, Mr. Beg, coming towards the prospects of South Africa tour, do you think that the selectors should opt for Fakhar Zaman instead of Mohammad Hafiz, given their pitches are fast tracks?
No, in my opinion, Hafiz is an experienced batsman. He started his Test career in 2003 when Yasir Hamid, Shabir Ahmed and Umar Gul made their Test debut against Bangladesh at Karachi. Hafiz is a seasoned campaigner. His bowling, his batting can be useful for Pakistan in South Africa. I don't think so that selectors will take a risk by dropping Hafiz. But it all depends on the Abu Dhabi Test, where Hafiz, what sort of performance he gives in this Test match. Definitely, it will be a test for Hafiz. He'll be under a lot of pressure, because after scoring the century in Dubai Test against Australia, he hasn't scored runs. And coach Mickey Arthur was also against the inclusion of Mohammad Hafiz, but on the insistence of Captain Sarfaraz Ahmad, he brought Hafiz into the team and he proved his worth. So it looks that Hafiz will be there. Selectors have decided, I think, the final 11, which will be announced in a few days' time. So it looks that they'll go for the experience.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Beg. And once again, that was Mirza Iqbal Beg, senior sports journalist. And now let's move on to a quick break. We'll be back with more news. Thank you for staying with us. And now let's move on to some international news. Indonesian investigations belonging to the country's transport safety agency have said that Lion Air plane, which crashed last month, was not airworthy and should have been grounded. The Boeing 737 MAX plane crashed into the Java Sea shortly after departing Jakarta on 29th of October. A preliminary report has found technical problems had been reported on previous flights, but the investigators have still not given definitive cause for the accident. The findings by the National Transport Safety Committee suggest that Lion Air put the plane back into service despite it having had problems on earlier flights. Investigators said Lion Air kept putting the plane back into service despite repeatedly failing to fix a problem with the airspeed indicator, including on its second last flight from Bali to Jakarta. The report also indicated that the pilot struggled with the aircraft's anti-stall automated system, which is a new feature in the Boeing 737 MAX family. Black box data also showed that the plane had an airspeed indicator issue on multiple earlier flights. Several relatives of the crash victims have already filed lawsuits against Boeing. The airline maker released an operational bulletin earlier this month warning all airlines about how to address erroneous readings related to the plane's external sensors. Continuing the coverage of international news, in the city of Ghazni, Afghanistan, 3 U.S. military service members were killed and another 3 were wounded when an improvised explosive device detonated. The NATO-led training mission in Afghanistan released a statement stating that a U.S. civilian contractor was also injured in the blast and is currently receiving treatment. No details have been provided over the motive and the perpetrators of the attack, but it has been closely associated with the repercussions of the operation against Al-Qaeda militants in the province of Nimruz. Well, there was no word on the circumstances of the blast on Tuesday, but Ghazni has been one of the most heavily fought over areas of Afghanistan this year. A witness said that the bomb in Ghazni went off as an American convoy passed on the highway. 5 service members so far have died in Afghanistan in November, the deadliest month for U.S. forces this year, by the way. But President Donald Trump has refrained from commenting on their deaths and rarely speaks up about the 17-year war. The U.S. currently has more than 14,000 forces in Afghanistan as part of a NATO-led mission to advise and assist the Afghan military in their fight against the Taliban and the ISIS. And that is all for tonight. Be sure to tune back in tomorrow. We'll take you beyond the news.